That was smashing.
In passing, we're passing on things too. It's not just smashing. You guys are friggin' disgusting. Welcome to episode 260 of the Wilderness Podcast. Oh my gosh, Trey, I woke up. I have the biggest bingo hangover today. I have such a headache, which is why this intro is already a failure. But Dill's here with Trey. We are last day of bingo, but this episode we're talking about we're doing a smash or pass part 2, continuing off where we left off from the bosses. We only got through like 5. I'm curious if anyone was listening. They're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's it? This is like 50 bosses. This is gonna be like a 10-part series. It will not be a 10-part series, but definitely a 2-part series at least. Trey, how's it going? It's the last day of bingo. I guess, Trey, let's if anyone's listening, they're like, what the hell are they talking about bingo? Like, how would you describe it? We're on the last day of this bingo event. What does that mean?
I think in theory, bingo is like, when you go to the old folks' home and they're playing the game of bingo, somebody rolls a number and you mark it off on your board. And it's just become tradition to call this type of event bingo, but it really shares no similarity to actual bingo.
The board doesn't even, it's not like usually, at least for the bingos that we do, they're not even the same size as like a bingo board, which is like what, 5x5? Or is it
yeah,
like 7x7
this time around, we got even further away from that because we're doing a ring style bingo. So it's like, you have a square and then there's like rings of tiles that you want to complete based on difficulty and stuff. But yeah, we started 8 days ago or 9 days ago, sorting people into teams, and whoever has the most points by the end wins. You get points for completing tiles. So, we recorded a week ago, and that was, when I was talking about getting my enhanced, that was one of the inner rings. So one of the hardest tiles. And so that added even more hype to getting that. I've had pretty good luck on this Iron Man. It's had big upgrades during bingo because I did one of the TNL, that's the clan or the Discord for at the XP Waste podcast. I was a part of their bingo.
Those are our rivals.
Yes, of course, our bitter rivals.
The Gary 2 hour. We're for Ash. They're Gary.
Yeah, no
Pokemon.
But during their bingo, I did that last year, and I got my Dragon Warhammer during that. So I've had good luck during bingos. Got my enhanced this time around, but
that's exciting.
Bingo is a very interesting type of thing because you get, it's like the board is this fresh canvas, and then as the event goes on, you start whittling down until it's the last day, and pretty much run out of stuff that my account can even do. And it's been there's been like it was a weird time to get the enhanced. I got it right at the beginning. And I was so excited, obviously, and I'm still extremely excited about it. But because it's been bingo, there's been a lot of stuff I've gone to grind that doesn't use my BOFA. And, because like one of the most popular like bingo bosses is Zulrah, because everybody loves Zulrah. Most people can do it. And so that's one of the first things to go. And we got the Zulrah tile like day 3 or something. So then Zulrah's off the board. And so then I was grinding Muspa, and then we got the Muspa tile. So Muspa's off the board. And so I've been trying to, because I've had this just long list of everything I want to do once I get my BOFA. You need something to fantasize about when you're in CG. And a lot of that stuff has just been getting slowly ticked off. So I've had to do a lot of non-BOFA stuff, which is, it's like I got this new toy that I want to play with. And
yeah.
I haven't been able to use it. So I'm excited for bingo to be done. I'm excited to have done it. Our bingos last for 9 days. And it's been going to work, coming home, getting immediately on my computer. And like the good thing for me, probably apart from anybody else in like our clan, is my wife has like seen me planning this bingo for like months now. And so she knows like how big of a deal this is to me. So she's been very like understanding like that I'm just a complete degenerate this week.
That's nice. My wife doesn't care. She's like, bingo, like she's like, okay, I get it. Like my grandparents play that game. I'm like, no, it's anyways. No interest at all. of understanding what the hell's going on. You know what she asked me? Okay, this is what she asked me. Can you believe this? She said this to me. So I've been on vacation this week, and she was like, what are you going to tell your coworkers you did all vacation? I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I work with a bunch of women. They're all women. Like, no one is gaming. No one is doing anything remotely nerdy. What do you mean? What am I going to tell them? I don't even know. I did dad stuff, I guess. Trey, what do I tell them? I don't know.
No, I thought about this because I was thinking the same thing just about like if my coworkers asked me what'd you do this weekend, and I didn't want to say I played a video game for, 48 hours. So, but I think the way to sweeten it up and make it sound a little like they're still going to be like, but they're going to be like, is I was competing in a video game tournament.
Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, you put the label of esports on it. My wife understands. If I'm saying, if I'm rating or something, I just say I'm doing an esports tonight. Like she's she's the same age as me. She's 32, and she sounds like she's like a senior sometimes. I have to be like, yeah, I'm esporting tonight. She's like, okay, so that means she knows that I'm focused. I can't pause it. I'm going to be on voice chat and stuff.
The biggest downside.
So that's not bad.
The biggest downside of saying that though is they're gonna be like, oh well. Like, how much money do you win? And then you say, oh, it's all in-game money so that I can keep playing the game even more.
It's a house league. Yeah, it costs me money to join the house league.
Yeah. But yes, I'm just, now that, we're kind of at the end of it and kind of, looking down the barrel of it's going to be done and I'm going to go back to normal grinds and stuff. It's interesting. So I do this thing and I don't know if anybody else does this, but so the more excited I am about something, right? So let's say like a music album or like a movie or something that you've been waiting like a long time for, you've like followed the development and it's like one of your favorite artists, right? And then it comes out. And I don't know, I've always done this thing where like the more excited I am for something, like the longer I want to wait to like, experience it because I'm like so excited about it that I'm so like, I don't want it to be over. And so because I don't want it to be over, I don't want to start it. I don't know if that's like a normal thing or not, but.
Is it like, when you like save the best for last? Is that like kind of like that?
Yeah, something like that. Like, for example, I remember when like 2021 or something, there was a new Kendrick Lamar album that came out and I was super excited for it. And I think I waited like 2 weeks after it came out before I even listened to it. And I was like,
dude, yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I got like, I sometimes will buy a game and I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to play it. But I'm not going to do it right now.
Yeah,
it just sits forever sometimes. I never get around to doing it because I'm saving it for something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So anyways, the reason I bring that up is I'm kind of doing that a little bit with my BOFA now. Now that all the pressure's off, I have it. It's sitting in my bank. Now I like, my next like kind of stage of my account is going to be a lot of prep, a lot of skilling. Cause I basically like kind of the endpoint goal is like getting back into Slayer. I'm 94 Slayer and I don't really want to go back to Slayer until I'm going to go for 99. So I'm going to try to do all of this stuff, like get like huge stacks of supplies ready, get all of the non-Slayer big drops that I want. So that's Zulrah, that's Godwars, a lot of the bosses we're going to be talking about today, getting drops from them. I want to saturate my heart from Muspa. I want to get a Venator bow from Muspa, which that could take me freaking year. And I kind of want to get a Void Waker. So some big, long grinds that don't include the BOFA, which sounds crazy, but I think it's that thing I'm talking about where it's like, I have it now. And I mean, I guess I mentioned Zulrah and Godwars and stuff, which is all BOFA stuff, but yeah, like I've been doing Herblore all morning because I'm like 100K away from 90 Herblore. And then I want to get 99 construction, 99 farming, like these big skilling goals, which is going to be awesome to finally go back into it. Because, Iron Man problems, I've been going really hard this bingo and I'm completely out of prayer potions. I've been dipping into my super restores.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's just been something that I've had to deal with. And now I've got to kind of rebuild from that. But, the thing about Iron Man, the thing about me, I guess, is I love skilling too. So I'm almost just as excited to get back into skilling as I was to be doing all this PVM.
Yeah, like even though bingo has a lot of non-PVM tiles, it definitely is like PVM is probably the majority of it, but I bet you there's a lot of people. I bet you there is like even mains like that. They probably have this like post bingo skilling recovery stage. I'm the same way. I went through all these, and you know, it's funny. It's actually kind of maybe leads us to an interesting topic because like you what you're saying with the crystal bow, it's like I have a similar problem, but like, or a similar thing going on, but with a different problem, I guess, because I got all these items during bingo. We talked about the synapses last week. I can't remember. I know we were going back and forth between the staff and the bow, but I think I stumbled across this after our recording. Maybe I'm repeating myself. I apologize if I am. But anyways, I can't, if I really want the bow, I have to get my fletching up to like 85. Like that's really high. Like, so that either I go for the staff that's only 74 crafting, but I have this skilling grind that's just so I can use a lot of these items. So like I got the Huey hides as well. And then I'm like, great, now I can turn this into ranged armor. It's like 89 crafting now. I'm like, oh my gosh, like just for the chest. Yeah. So it's like, I got on top of everything else, I kind of have to do a bunch of crafting to like use these items, which is cool. But I have a bunch of these items that are like, well, these are so rare, but got a smoldering stone from a hellhound early on, which is like 1 in 32,000, but it just sits there because I can't really do much with it. So it's I'm doing the similar thing that you're doing, but it's completely different situations, I think. Because and I like how I like that some items like you need to use your craft. It feels very Iron Man-y, but I mean, lower levels could deal with this too. There's a lot of lower levels I know that just play the game as an Iron Man because they're just exploring. They're not looking for like metas and they're just stumble across things sort of. But like, you know, but suddenly my skills are coming in to like, I have to level my skills just to, you know, turn this like regen, whatever you want to call it, turn it into the weapon that I want to use. I don't know. People probably listen like, yeah, no shit. Like, what the hell are you talking about? But I guess just being on like a high level main for such a long time, like I never had to worry about any of that sort of stuff.
Well, I don't know if I can help on all of that. You know, I think it is kind of cool that like, I think probably for the more recent, like we've had this big wave of irons in our account. And I think a lot of them, the first time they kind of realized that you need to do a little skilling to keep up with your PVM has been the zombie axe. Because I think you need, it's either 70 or 75 smithing for that. And they get the drop. They immediately go to the wiki and try to find the NPC that'll just make it for you for GP or something. And there is none. So then they got to train their smithing. But I will say there is one thing that I can help you with on your synapse because it's a magic longbow unstrung, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the one. It's like a hidden, like you need 74 fletching to craft the bow, but there's like this hidden, you actually need 85 because you need a longbow. Whereas the purging staff, it's an iron bar and a battle staff. Like that's, anyways.
Well, I can tell you one place you can get a magic longbow unstrung.
Okay. I need to know this.
It's from Tormented Demons.
Oh, okay. I knew that one.
Okay.
I did see that. And it's the worst part is it's kind of rare.
It is really rare for what it is.
It's twice as likely to get as the synapse. So the synapse is 1 in 500 and this is like 1 in 250. So I think what I'll probably end up doing is making the staff and then reverting it to the bow once I get the longbow. That's probably the move.
Yeah, like I think I said last time, the way they've changed the reverting of them makes hopping between them a lot more likely. I wouldn't recommend it on your iron and with the scorching bow until you can actually just make your own magic longbows. But as far as making the staff and then turning it into a bow, I don't see why you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's cool. And you know, I like how, yeah, I think again, I feel like I always, the beauty of the game, but it is everything's interleaved. Like you really benefit from being a well-rounded player. Even
more so on iron.
Yeah, it's good, and I love how everything kind of plays into each other like that. There are some weird ones. I remember thinking the blowpipe was a little bit off. I'm trying to pull it up right now. I think that one I remember being a little bit low on something. So sometimes it doesn't always feel proportionate. But I'm going to look it up right now. So I'm kind of rambling while I can quickly put this together. So looking Tanzanite Fang. Now I'm just kind of commentating what I'm doing. To make the blowpipe, you need 78 fletch. I'm wrong. 78 fletching. That's this is the problem. I've looked at this game for such a long time from the lens of my almost maxed main, like end game main. So 78 fletching is rather trivial. It feels like that's such a low fletching level to have such a great. Oh, they changed it a year ago. That's why.
Oh,
okay. So you need 78 fletching now, but it used to be 53. So for the blowpipe, which felt very low, 53 fletching for that. It seems like, yeah, that is trivial. So I'm not going crazy. I'm like an old man back in my day.
Well, it's weird because, like, I mean, maybe this is somewhat of a hot take, but probably not. That fletching is just such an unnecessary skill in this game because fletching is in essence crafting, which honestly I think probably 3 or 4 skills could fall under that umbrella. The idea of crafting is such a wide ranging thing. So, and it's funny because like I have what 93 crafting on my iron because, you know, I powered through that to get my Zenite stuff, and my fletching is still at 74. So I was figuring I didn't even realize that about the Tanzanite thing either. I have 74 fletching. So I'll either have to boost or get some fletching levels, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But it just goes to show how, like, when you think about something, it's like something like that. It's like it could easily fall under, you know, fletching or crafting or even smithing, maybe. Which, I mean, I get that the blowpipe is a ranged weapon, so it would make the most sense to fall under fletching. But you know what I mean? Like, there's so much overlap in kind of what those things are and what they do. And I think if we could go back to the beginning, a lot of skills would probably fall under the umbrella of crafting, all as one skill.
But also, you could also, it has the opposite problems. Crafting could be split up into like leather working. What's that one that they did where you made magic armor and it failed?
Oh, what
not
was that
warding,
called?
but it was like, tailoring. You could have tailoring, you could have leather working, you could have, then you have like the jewelry part of things. And then you have like the utility side of things where it's like lanterns and it's all over the place.
Yeah.
You can make glass and stuff. I don't know.
That's a whole different episode on everything that's wrong with the core of the game. But you know, that one probably wouldn't go over well.
It's funny. You have some skills that are ultra specifically fire making, which is like you just make fires, and then crafting. It's like you craft like a huge variety of different things. You know, not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah. What else do we want to mention? Did you see Domino's Pizza had a meme about RuneScape?
No.
I saw it on Facebook. Domino's Pizza, the official account, has like 20 million, followers. They posted like, mentally I'm here right now. And it was just a picture of the Grand Exchange. I don't really know what that even means. Mentally I'm here right now, but I just, I saw RuneScape, so that was pretty cool.
That feels like they made like 25 variations of that and have a very base understanding of the game. And it's just an ad that was directed fully at you.
Yeah, that's, I'm very susceptible to marketing. If it's like, here's this thing that you like, kind of like, I'm like, oh, sweet. Like, I'm down. Trey, let's head on over and talk about our Smash or Pass. What do you think?
Hell yeah.
All right, so we're going through every boss in old school RuneScape, and we're giving it we're talking about the smashability of the boss. We're talking about if it's worthy of a smash or a pass, of course, with the Dragon Warhammer. Everything's PG-13 here, at least topic-wise. I try not to cuss, but I'm a little bit of a potty mouth sometimes. So we're going in order of release, and we've really kind of tackled some of the early bosses: King Black Dragon, Califite Queen, Barrows Brothers, Jad, DKs, Chaos Elemental, Giant Mole. Really, like some of the more standard bosses, but now we're getting into like the interesting grounds. So the next we're going to be talking about is the 4 God Wars bosses. We're just going to see how far we can get, and then we're probably going to have to break this into at least 3 parts, but we'll see how many we can cover. So we're going to talk about the 4 God Wars bosses. And really, this is like the first, arguably, maybe not the first old school RuneScape boss, but it's definitely the first boss that was released. This is confusing because the bosses technically came out in 2007. But when old school RuneScape was released in 2013, these bosses were not added. The rest of them were, like the ones we already talked about last episode. And then these were introduced like 8 months after old school was released in 2013 of October 17th. So yeah, we have the God Wars as a whole. Like I have some notes about what I like about like kind of all the God Wars parts, and then some of them are more specific. So here's my positive notes. So I'm doing my pros and cons. I think the God Wars dungeons is cool. I think it's a cool idea. The lore behind it's neat. These like, it's this dungeon that was frozen in time during the Third Age. And the Third Age was like this giant world war that like, the wilderness used to be this huge city, like this huge nation that just got destroyed during the God Wars. That's why it looks the way it is. So big war happens and you have the gods are a part of it, obviously. And then this dungeon gets frozen in time. And that's why you have like the commander Zilliana, this commander of the Saradomin army, of a general Grarador, Krill, Tutsaroth, Kriera. Like these are people that would be fighting in the God Wars, and they would have like a significant role in one way or another, but they're trapped in this dungeon. Yeah. So I think God Wars as a whole is pretty cool. The loot is great. Like they all have such cool loot, and it's pretty varied. It's still useful to this day, and I like the way the loot works, where it's not super rare. We have a lot of items in this game that are like 1 in 1,000. These are all like 1 in 100 and something or whatever. But like if you go do a trip, it's reasonable to think you might get a drop. So yeah, overall, I think the whole aesthetic of it is pretty neat. The thing that maybe I don't like about it, you have to kill X amount of like minions in order to get access into the room. That's a bit weird. Like it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, and it gets kind of tedious after a while, to the point that some of the bosses, it's not even really. Most people just don't even do the minion farming. They go farm keys in the wilderness, or there's ways to cheese it as well. Yeah, and the thing I don't like is that this is mostly for an Iron Man, I guess. Iron Man have to solo it. But all the bosses, their main thing, it feels like, is like, yeah, they're going to hit hard every now and then. So it kind of, I don't know. I've never really liked doing them solo, but in a group, they're pretty chill. So I don't mind that at all. Yeah, that's my notes as like, if we look at God Wars as a whole. What about you, Trey? What stands out about the God Wars dungeon?
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think it's, it feels very... It's like the pinnacle of old school bossing, like, what we think of as like, 2007. And like you said, it's funny, like it wasn't even at their like cutoff date from the backup that they started old school from. And then I think they just realized like, come on, everybody wants this. And they passed a poll. So everybody did want it. But yeah, I think my biggest critiques of it is the killing the minions thing is interesting. The problem with it from a gameplay perspective, besides the actual killing of the minions, is it leads to this gameplay loop, which is one of my least favorite things in this game. And it's all over this game. But the idea of getting somewhere and feeling like you can't leave because of what it took to get in there, very different. But Guardians of the Rift has had the same problem before they made the changes of just like, you get your KC to go in there, and it's like, that took me, it took me so long. And then, oh man, learning the bosses is so brutal because you kill 30 goblins, Grarador hits you for, like a 40 and a 30, and you telly out, and you have to do it all over again.
Yeah. On my man, I remember getting like 1 or 2 kills, and it was like, if I'm lucky. Now, this was years ago. Things have changed. There's lots of different tech to getting more kills, but yeah, still. I think these bosses have potential to be a really chill boss. It's just, I think we have to wait for more gear to come out. In RuneScape 3, they're pretty chill. You go in there and they're kind of like, they're the boss that you kill that. There's not many mechanics. They're not going to shred you, and they drop some uniques. So like, they're almost like the equivalent of the Giant Mole if Giant Mole had a bunch of uniques on its table, where it's like, yeah, these are pretty trivial overall. We're definitely not there, because some of these motherfuckers can hit you. They all hit so hard. Another negative I don't like, it's just like a square. Each boss room is just a square room. It's not the most imaginative, but whatever. It's not very creative, but...
Not only is each boss room a square, but if you're doing like... Actually, it kind of goes for even on mains, but especially for irons, the fights kind of all start feeling the same, because you can BOFA only every one of them. And 3 out of the 4 of them, you're doing some kind of method where you're basically running in circles while you're shooting it with your bow, because they hit so hard that, the only one you can't really get away from. Well, I guess Krill, you have the scorching bow method that's new, which is really cool. But you just stand there and shoot it, and then Kree, Armadillo, you kind of just stand there and shoot it, or there's the Chen method. But at the end of the day, you go in there with a bow for a shadow and you either freeze it or run around in circles. But I don't know. I go back and forth. The new like loot systems they've had for some of these group bosses has been so cool. And so last night for our bingo team, basically what we have left on our board that's like group content is we have Godwars and we have Wildy bosses, right? And we're basically like, well, we can only do the Wildy bosses because we have irons on our team. So if we want to do group content, we have to go to those because then everybody gets a drop. So I don't know. I think it would be interesting if they would at least entertain the idea of reworking the drops, this group bossing system for honestly everything in the game, but especially God Wars. But I also think that will never pass a poll because of all the Ironmen who have already had to get their stuff solo.
I think you're right.
So I don't.
Which is a shame because the new loot system, I think, is like, I want to say it's objectively more fun. Like going to Callisto and knowing that even if I not going to do that much damage, I'm still going to get loot. And as an Iron Man, I can play with other people. Like, that's fun.
Yeah. And the nice thing about the Wildy bosses, which we're going to get to very soon, but the nice thing about that as compared to God Wars is it is in the wilderness and every additional person is an additional risk and you have to go to the multi area to do it. So, it is. So I don't know. They would almost have to do that with God Wars where they have a God Wars Dungeon 2 that's, multi, irons, have shared loot, but maybe it works completely differently and it's objectively better to do it solo. Maybe it has way higher drop rates for the items or something. I don't know. But it's just, it kind of sucks that, like you're just not able to do that with your friends. And yeah, I get it. Ironman stand alone, but it doesn't mean you can't have friends. I guess that kind of implies you can't have friends, but yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things that Iron Man's becoming so pervasive in the game that it would be nice if they would start taking that into account. I don't know. That's just such a hot topic of we're going to accommodate updates to Iron Man. Well, I think the numbers don't lie on that one. There's a lot of them in the game. But anyways, moving on from that.
But I think something like that is also accommodating to all because like I've done God Wars on a main and man, it feels I love bringing lower levels and new players to these bosses for the first time. And God, do I hate that I get the loot all the time because I'm just doing so much more damage because I got a shadow or something like that. Like I have to go out of my way to nerf myself so that because I want them to get the drops. That's what's exciting. I would hate like Corp kind of sucks to do sometimes because if you get a good big group of players, like all it takes is one person to be kind of like a really good gamer and have better gear and they're going to get every single drop. And then like, sure, you're splitting, but like, I don't know. It's just less fun when you're not, it's just fun to get loot. Like, yeah. So I think it would be a positive overall as long as they did it so it wasn't breaking the game. But anyways, anything else about God Wars or do you want to start going to the individual bosses?
The idea of having to have a piece of each god on or you'll get aggroed by everything is
that part.
It's a unique part of it. It's super. I don't know why they didn't just have your gravestone be outside God Wars because it's the scariest thing in this entire game to die there and then have to like quick put on stuff from each god so you run into the dungeon. You're so scared of dying. I think I lost 2 mil. I was just talking about that our last episode. I lost 2 mil because I ran in. I died at Bandos and my desk coffer has gone through the roof since I got a BOFA on there. And, I didn't want to run back in there because I was worried about just missing one little thing in my gear and getting piled on by stuff. But I do think, on the alternative side of that, lore wise, I think it's really interesting. I like that, if you don't have a piece of their god, if you're not repping for them, they're going to attack you. Although they don't seem to be very smart because they can't figure out that you're wearing one from each of them. It would be funny if they canceled each other out. Like if you wore Saradomin, you couldn't wear Zamorak or something. But
have you seen that? It's like it's a cartoon. Someone made of someone decked out in like full Saradomin blessed D-hide, but he's got the Zamorak boots, and it's like Zamorak minions being like, "Yo, should we get this guy?" Like, we should kill this dude. Like, who is like not supposed to be here? And then one of the dudes like, no, look at his boots. He's one of us, even though he's fully decked out in the other gods.
Yeah,
You just need the boots. It's pretty funny. I totally agree. I forgot about that part. It is one thing I do like about it is you get like these funny little Easter eggs where I think it's the cult of Haziel. That has like you can choose between two different paths, and one of them gives you like some sort of staff or something, and then the other path you choose gives you like this useless necklace of Armadil. It has no stats, but if you want to min max, it's kind of fun sometimes. You want to do this route, you get the necklace of Armadil because it counts as a Armadil piece. So get that early on. I don't think anyone ever uses it, but you know it's there for you. Probably for those snowflake accounts. Let's go into the individual bosses. So first here I have Commander Ziliana, probably at least the first boss that we've encountered that some people are going to wish we weren't talking about. Smash or pass with a Dragon Warhammer. You guys are gross. So Commander Ziliana is the Saradomin commander from this, from the God Wars, whatever. My notes are, and this is going to apply to every one of them. They all have like an extra way of getting to their lair. Not an extra way, but there's like an extra step. So Commander Ziliana, I think you just need, what is it, like agility or something, and you just climb down a rope, which is not much. But you need, you need 70 agility for Commander Ziliana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you need that. I think that's kind of cool that there's like an extra layer, even though when I played my combat only Iron Man, that means we can't ever go to Ziliana, which sucks. So that's my pro about her, and I like the minions. I think the minions she has in her room. She has like a unicorn and this like snow leopard looking thing. I liked and some centaur. I don't really like that one, but I like the other two. They're pretty cute. Yeah, I like that. No, that's about it. That's all I like about the fight for the most part. I think the fight kind of sucks, especially like the meta where you just kind of kite her around the room and shoot her. I find that a bit frustrating to do. I remember someone mentioned trying it on mobile, and I've tried. I don't know. It's just annoying. And I'm not really into the fight, but.
Sorry, can you read your note as you wrote it for that one?
The fight sucks, or maybe I suck. So
thank you.
I guess. Yeah, I guess that's important to know because I'm sure. You know what? I actually like the grind on League, so maybe that's important to add. When she dies, I'm a big sound effect listener and music listener at times too. Mostly sound effects though. When she dies, she has this like screech that sounds like a friggin' fire alarm's about to go off. Like it's like fire alarm's going off. Because I remember I would do it, and I would every time she died, I would constantly whip my head over my shoulder because like I'm expecting my fire alarm to be going off. So I hate that noise. So that's a negative for sure. And I think the pet's pretty stupid. I don't like when you get a pet. First off, I don't like when you get a pet and it's mostly just a miniature version, like a shrunken down version of them. And I also don't like it when you get a pet and it's a human looking thing. Like what is this?
You know, it'd be really cool going back to the entirety of God Wars. It'd be really cool if each of the God Wars pets you could transmog into any of their minions.
That's what I think it should be, because a unicorn following me around or a little snow leopard, I think makes more sense than just like mini Ziliana. Like, what the hell is that? Is it like her offspring? Is it like, is it like Dr. Evil and Mini Me? Like just, shrunken down. Definitely
that one.
But I'm not super into it. Yeah. And I hate the farming the KC. Not into it. It's one of the worst ones to do. So that's my notes, Ziliana. What do you think?
So before I talk about Ziliana, could you clear the air? You know lore better than I do. One of the biggest questions about Ziliana, can you explain why the Armadil crossbow comes from the Saradomin boss?
That's a weird one too, eh? Well, it's because I guess they just needed her to have a big ticket item. I think like in the lore, it's like she stole it from one of the Armadil people. I can't really remember.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were gonna know that off the top of your head. You're much more into lore than I am.
I'm not even super big into like lore. I like the idea of lores, but I mostly remember them as like the vague concept of stuff.
Okay, well, the common like one sentence explanation is that it was stolen during the God Wars. I'm sure that's much more epic than that, but.
Let's see if I can find it. Oh, let's see. While pretending to form an alliance with Armadil, Commander Ziliana stole the Armadil crossbow from Kriera during the God Wars, keeping it as a trophy of her cunning. So,
hell yeah,
she's pretending to form an alliance from Armadil and then steals a frigging crossbow. Like, it's a crossbow super. Who does that? like that's such like I'm going to just steal your one crossbow. Maybe more stuff happened. They leave it out. But then, by the way, Kriera just down the hall. Kriera's just down the hall. Does she care? No, she's not. Like, she could just walk to Zilliana and be like, yo, give me back my friggin' crossbow.
I think that...
Explain that one. I don't know.
I think that if there ever was going to be a RuneScape movie, it should definitely be Godwars. It feels like that's, you know what I mean? Like, that feels like the best storyline of the lore.
Oh, it's so... Dude, it's the Horus Heresy of RuneScape. Oh, so great. I had to squeeze in Warhammer in there.
Anyways, so yeah, Zilliana, you know, that it's probably the easiest of the run around and shoot methods because she has the biggest by far arena. So you can just run to every corner. It's a really fun boss to duo because basically one person shoots at her or you both shoot at her and she'll start walking towards one of you and you run away and then she starts walking at the other one and it's literally like monkey in the middle. It's probably going to be my first stop at Godwars. The meta there, because she takes a really long time to kill, the meta is to put on a Serp Helm and a Blowpipe and shoot each of her minions once because that's a guaranteed venom. And basically, by the time you're able to get through that entire kill, the minions will pretty much be dead. So but yeah, the drops from there are really good. You have the Saradomin Hilt, so Saradomin Godsword, which allows you to regen your health and your prayer with its special. So it's
I love it.
It's a great one. It's kind of one that I would like to. So like it's an Iron Man thing where I would love to get spooned that and go dry on the other ones because a lot of the times the meta is not to use it, but if it's the only one I had, I would use it. You know, so it'd be fun to be forced to have to use that one. But yeah, then you have the Armadillo crossbow, which is it's a funny weapon because it doesn't really have great like attack bonuses next to like a dragon crossbow even. But its special is basically that it increases the chance of proccing your like bolt spec. So it's a great item to have, and also because it gets upgraded into a Zerite crossbow, so you're going to need it anyways. But it's an item. It's an item that I'm going to go for that is probably considered not necessary at all at my stage of my account, but I'm going to be happy to have it, mostly because it'll be the first item that I can actually equip, dragon bolts with. But yeah, so I like the rewards there. I like the fight enough. It's a lot chiller than the other methods because, as we'll see, the other methods are still running around in circles, but the arena is a lot tighter, so your timing is a lot tighter. You can make a lot of mistakes. Probably the best like one to learn on, just the concept of kiting a boss and the 6-0, 7-0, 5-0, whichever one you're doing. But yeah, nothing too crazy to say about it. We're probably going to repeat ourselves a lot with these bosses because there's just a lot of similarities.
Yeah, they did get released. It's like, honestly, these feel like the first like official, like not the first official bosses, but they really kind of do. Like it's a new era of bossing when these came out back in 2007. Do you want to know some fun facts about the Armadillo crossbow?
Okay.
There's a lot of cool I didn't know any of this stuff. I was trying to find like some extra lore over. I thought there'd be some cool story to tell about it, and instead I found this. So when we talk about these different bosses, the loot's kind of similar. They all have like their big like their the god swords. Then they have their like the Armadillo crossbow or the Bando's armor or the Zamorak spear or I guess Armadillo armor. So they all have like their flagship unique that comes with them. But you can get that from all of the minions except for the Armadillo crossbow. It's one of the only unique boss drops that you can't get from their bodyguards.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the Steam Battle Staff, Staff of the Dead, and Saradomin's Light also can't, but the Armadillo crossbow is definitely a bit different than those ones. The special attack sound, it sounds awful. They just made anything related to Zilliana sound like ear piercing, but they've reused that sound as an Easter egg in different spots in the game. So, and it's kind of cool. When you're cutting down a tree, you have a chance of a bird's nest falling from that tree. There is a 1 in 250 chance that the crossbow special attack sound plays instead.
I love that.
As the bird drops. If you use the dream spell, which is on the lunar spell book, if you use the dream spell, when you have a jar of dreams in your inventory, which is an item you can get from the nightmare, I believe, you will hear the armadillo's special attack screech, and the nightmare's face will pop up on your screen.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool? There's more. There is a small chance that you can find a goose north of Lumbridge.
Okay.
And when you pet it, it will make the armadillo special attack sound. There's also a small chance that Hubert will make the sound when you talk to it, which is Hubert is the Huey Quaddles pet.
That's amazing.
And then the last thing is the armadillo crossbow looks the exact same as the hunter's crossbow. It's just the hunter's crossbow is recolored. That's it. But that's, first off, one of the worst sounds in the game, and I love that they've kind of sprinkled it in so that if you do play with sounds on, you will just shit your pants like once a year by accident. Not even, probably less than that.
Hey, that's doing pretty good for me in the shitting my pants department. So,
and I do love these like little special effects. These little Easter eggs.
Well, and I love that it's objectively like the worst sound ever, and so because of that, they've added more of it into the game.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, neat stuff. All right, so what do you think? Smash or pass? Hot or not? What's going to be? Right? We're talking about Dragon Warhammer still.
Yeah, of course. I think, I'll definitely smash. I'm looking forward to grinding this.
I'm going to pass. I don't like this boss. This boss annoys me. Even though the fight's fine, but she annoys me for all the wrong reasons that are like not entirely gameplay related. And she just walks around. I don't like the way she walks. Piss me off. Next, we have General Grardor. So this is the Bandos boss. He's like a big ogre looking dude. So these are the notes that I have. I definitely like this fight more so than Commander Ziliana's. I find I like Grardor because it just feels like the most chill of them all. And if you just want a chill night and you're all like mid-game accounts, you and the boys come out here. It's kind of a great boss just to kill on a Friday night to hang out. I like that he's got his hands are just so thick. They're like canned ham hands. I like that. That's a win for me. I like that he says things like war and other things that are like, ogre, goblin related. I don't know, related. I like
high war god.
Yeah, exactly. KC farming's kind of better. I like that. And you get a hammer, and then to get into the door instead of climbing down a rope, you get a hammer, you have to smash a gong. That's cool. I like that. The fight overall, it's kind of meh, but it's not at the point where it's chill enough that you're like, can kick back. It sort of is if you have a shadow. That's it. I also don't like the pet. Again, he's too chunky to be scaled down. Some people love it, but I think, he looks like he got ran over by a car, and then they just like repurposed that model into the pet.
But like ran over a car in like a cartoon way where they just get flattened, not like actually somebody who got ran over by a car. Yeah.
Yeah. He gets like smoothed out. He's not like bleeding out. Like, anyways, be dark. I guess that's my notes. What do you think of the General Grardor fight?
I think if you pulled it, it would very easily be considered the best God Wars boss. It's definitely people's favorite, and it has objectively like the best rewards. As far as, for one, it has multiple rewards that are good. I think that's fair to say. It's the only one that has armor and a god sword that are both really good to get for any account. The Bandos god sword is such a pervasive weapon that's so useful in so many places. And when I go to grind Grardor, that will be more. I'm more interested in getting the BGS than I am the Bandos armor. But Bandos armor is still super good, super useful. They've kind of, it's in a weird place just because the Blood Moon has the same like attack bonuses, like strength bonus. So a lot of people consider it to be like pretty much just as good, but you get prayer and defensive bonuses with the Bandos armor. So it's still objectively better, but considering how difficult it is to get compared to the Blood Moon, there are people who, you can put that grind on the back burner for a lot longer than it used to feel like you could. I will say that I think the Bandos armor is the ugliest armor in the entire game.
I was going to say it looks so good. What, you think it looks ugly? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, it's
what is it you don't like about it?
I don't like that working from the bottom up, I don't like that you have like long Nike socks on.
I'm gonna look it up.
And then you got like a loincloth, and then like I don't know, the top is all right. The big spiky thing on the shoulder, it's very like very old school fantasy where it's much more about aesthetics than actual use. But I guess you could make the argument it's like an attack focused armor, and that would be like probably goblins. They're not worried about defense; they're worried about attacking. So you could make some lore reasons there. But in my opinion, the only way to make it palatable is to switch your character to a female character model, and then it looks a little bit better. Not for any weird reasons. I just think it like fits the character model better. But other than that, that's also, it's one of the most popular because of how, Iron Men need those items. So the solo bandos is a big thing, and I've been trying to learn it. It's very, very punishing to the point where, once again, I wish I could do it with other people instead of having to solo it. But, it's probably the only one of the God Wars that you could not really, like the other three, you could get away for a long time without going to, but Bandos is the one that you feel like you really need to go to. But the good news is it's probably most people's favorite one. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm definitely in favor of it for those reasons.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like I mentioned, I love the way the armor looks, so I feel a bit different, but it is a little bit more promiscuous wearing it, showing a little bit of skin. If you're a girl, you're showing the midriff. If you're a guy, you're showing the shoulders down a little bit, which is interesting. Like for a girl, it kind of covers your belly button up. For a guy, it covers like your nipples down. But anyways, we don't have to get into that too much. Oh, we already did. Okay, now before we move on and we'll give our rating of Smash or Pass, sometimes I love the journey. This game's been out for a while. Some of these items go on a little bit of a journey. And yeah, the God Wars, the Bando's God Sword is one of those weapons, because it's an awesome weapon right now. It's going for 13 mil. Sometimes it goes up as high as 20 mil. It's a great defense reducing a special attack, kind of in par with like the Dragon Warhammer or I guess the Elder Maul. But it hasn't always been that way. So it was kind of funny. So in 2015, it used to have the special attack drained 100% of its special energy. So you could only use it once. So it just wasn't that good. Eventually they reduced it, but they reduced it down to 65%. So you could still only do it once, and then you'd have to wait a bit to gain a little bit more. And then it was almost as if like in 2017, they realized having just one defense reducing item like the Dragon Warhammer is kind of problematic maybe. And the only way to make the Bando's God Sword as good as it is now is by giving it 2 special attacks, reducing it to 50%. So that finally happened in 2017. And I remember seeing that item going from like 3 mil up to like 20 mil, like overnight when they pitched that. It went from being like a useless item to like now it's used over the Dragon Warhammer at times. So yeah, it's pretty nuts.
I would be remiss if I didn't shout out the Cult of the Beach. That's a part of our clan.
The Beach Boys.
Yeah, the Beach Boys.
Of the boss, is it a smash or a pass?
Definitely a smash for me.
I think it's a smash for me as well, just because the fight, it is. When you think of God Wars, I think you think of Gardor first.
For sure.
Yeah. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, so next up we have Krill Tsutsaroth, which is like the demon. I think it looks cooler than the other two. I love the way it looks. The models look pretty badass, even though I'm not super into like, when it comes to like the fantasy side of things, I'm not really into like demons a whole lot, like demons and devils. I don't like, once you start crossing different planes and different realms, it start getting a little bit confusing for me, but Krill Tsutsaroth is cool. He's got meat cleavers or whatever. That's pretty sick. I like that you swim in water that you got to swim through. That's cool. You don't do a whole lot of swimming. I like that. I think if I remember this correctly, the Zamrock area is super dark unless you get Ceradoman's light. Mm-hmm. And then it just brightens it. Although there's plugins that you don't need Ceradoman's light anymore, which is that exists. Yeah, and then boom, you got Krill Tsutsaroth there. I actually didn't put any specific negatives just because. Well, there's not. You know what? I guess overall there wasn't a whole lot that stands out about Krill to me. There's not a whole lot, like both positive and negative.
Oh, I can give you the negatives. Actually, fighting it.
I don't mind when I've done it. I never really minded fighting it because I just feel like you could do a lot of damage. Where the issues I have with Gardor, where it's just very hard to fight him toe to toe, Krill, I feel like I can fight toe to toe a little bit more. You just got to be a little bit careful and got to be a little bit safer because he's got like a prayer draining attack that can really hurt you. A lot of hardcore Ironmans died there. What is it like? What's your gripe with the fight?
Well, so it's interesting because like it's been. I think a lot of people have considered it the worst fight just because of how much damage you can take and you're getting poisoned and stuff. It's probably the highest KO potential out of all of, like you're saying, a lot of hardcore Ironmen and stuff. But that just completely flipped a 180 when they introduced a Scorching Bow, because now the meta is Scorching Bow and Light Bearer, and you can freeze him in place and just stand there and shoot him. So it went from like the hardest fight or the worst fight to the easiest one. But what that's left us low level Ironmen with is you have this conundrum of you want the Zamorak, you want the Zami Hasta for TOA, but you want the Light Bearer for Krill. And it's just kind of this back and forth of, I mean, I think my plan is definitely to try to get, the Light Bearer before I really grind there, but maybe you can really push through and get just enough, because it's a 1 in 128 for the Zamorak Spear. So it's the most common of his uniques. So, it's definitely possible, but I won't deny this is the one I've done the least of. And it also has it probably has the worst uniques of all 4 of them is the other issue. You have Staff of the Dead, which, PKers are big fans of. The Zamorak Godsword is, I think, useful in Chambers and Master Clue Step, but other than that, doesn't really see much light of day. And then you have the Zamorak Spear, which it has a high stab. If you're a main, you don't even need to think about it because the Fang is like, 50K these days. But, it's a stepping stone for an Iron Man because it's going to be your best stab until you get a Fang, and Fang can take a long time to get.
For mains, it definitely has like the worst loot value, where like General Gardor, the Bandos is like 15 mil, 20 mil. Commander Ziliana, you have like the SGS, which is maybe not the most, but you got the Armadillo crossbow, which is like 60 mil. The Krill, you got the Hasta, which isn't too much. The Staff of the Dead, not a whole lot. Like they're significantly cheaper than what the other bosses have to offer. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think if there was a vote, this one would probably easily be at the bottom.
I do like that the Staff of the Dead has a cool special attack, which while you're holding it, the all melee attacks are like reduced by a ton. So it's really I really only see it used in the Wilderness, but they get piled and you see someone pops the Staff of the Dead and you're like, oh no, we're not coordinated, or my team's not coordinated enough to stop attacking them. That's what happened to me. Then we get mowed down. Something like that's cool. So that's pretty unique aspect there. Okay, so anything else you want to add before we do a little smash or pass?
No.
Okay, so what do you think?
I'll pass.
Ooh, okay. This is a smash for me.
Oh.
I think he looks pretty cool, and I don't mind. I haven't really minded the fight in the past. Yeah, the loot's like the worst part about it, I think. Okay, so let's go. Now we have the last of the 4 God Wars bosses, of course, is Armadillo, Kree Era. So I have my positive notes. It's a bird. I like things that fly in this game. Flying pets are cool. Super into that. So it's a bird, and I think that's kind of cool. I like birds. Birds are all right, even though debatable whether they actually exist or not. But so far in this game, they do. I think at least.
Just to clarify, this is also a pet that is an exact duplicate of the boss. But you're okay with this one?
Yeah, I guess because it's an animal and it's flying, it feels a bit better and it looks better. I can kind of ignore it, even though it also has 2 flying. Which funny, the minions that Armadillo has, they look more human-like than Armadillo actually does. Just a big bird. I'm also okay with Krill's pet as well, because I don't know, I guess just it looks more like an animal monster thing, whereas Gardor and Ziliana kind of look more like humanoid, sort of. Well, goblin-like, which I don't know, also kind of not into that sort of pet. But Krill's cool, yeah, birds are cool. I like that you can swing on use a grappling hook to swing in. That's pretty cool. But fun note, if you're a combat only Iron Man, they exist. Those 807 accounts exist. I played one for a bit. There is no way to get a mithril grappling hook without actually creating one yet. So that one's actually, there is one way, but you need skilling involved. Anyways, whatever. And then as I was filling this out, I kind of had my last negative note of Krier being like, all the guards just hit hard. I don't know. They're okay in a group. Because, you really feel it with these bosses when you're doing it solo. Like, Kriera is one that's just like, it can just hit you like a truck, and there's not much you can do. You just hope you can outdamage it. It's a little brutal. But they're all kind of like that.
It's just sad. I mean, that giant bird that just can't. It's like the smallest fight area for this flying boss. Just makes you a little sad for it. Just can't spread its wings and fly away.
Yeah, it's indoors and everything. It's like in its own little cage. That is kind of sad.
Yeah, it's like a mercy killing every time you fight it. No, it's the one of the probably the Godwars dungeon boss with the most unique fighting mechanic. The chinning method there is really interesting. I've never done it, but I like that. I like when bosses have a very sweaty, method that is the best way of killing it, because then those people are able to do that, and it gives you something to, aspire. It's like aspirational to, which those sweaty players would probably laugh at me calling the chinning method aspirational content. But some of us aren't good at the game. But yeah, it does hit the hardest. It feels like it's the one that's the least. Like you have the shortest trips when you go in there with full crystal and a Bofa, because you're your glass cannon build, and you get really short trips because you just get absolutely demolished by just all of the normal attacks, even through your prayer and stuff. But I think that running theme here, and maybe I cannot possibly see you disagreeing with this. This is the other contender for the dumbest looking armor in the game, the Armadillo armor.
Yeah, that is a rough one for sure.
every time
you have a friggin' eagle beak helmet. Yeah. Sorry.
Every time I see the helmet, I think of the part in the Lord of the Rings when Frodo has to pretend to be a orc, and he puts on one of their helmets and it's got that big beak on it. And then the top is weird. It's got like this huge, it's like showing off your collar. But I think the pants are great. I like the pants, but the top and helmet are really dumb looking, and I'm really glad that Masori saves the day with coming along and looking cool and being something that can replace that.
And it also looks like totally different whether it's on a male or female model. It actually looks, for the most part, I think it looks better on a female because it just looks like a more feminine piece of gear. With a guy, it seems like you're showing a lot of random skin parts, which I guess is less common on male models for armor. But then the helmet, you got it. It's like a full on beak, like a plague doctor's mask, except it's white and looks a lot. That a plague doctor's mask looks kind of cool. This does not. And then the woman's is like a bicycle helmet, like a kid's bicycle helmet that has like a mohawk, the mohawk thing. I don't know if you've seen those, but it looks so dumb. And the funniest part is they tried to pull it to make the helmet look better, and it failed. So I don't understand.
It's kind of like the ACB spec. I think people just like things being a little bit janky and a little bit stupid in this game, and I respect that.
Yeah, I guess so. What else do we have to add about this one? The God Sword is the PKers special. The armor AGS, it just does like a big hit, so it's a PKing weapon. That's where you see that come into play. Probably nowhere else.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think? Is smashing or passing?
I'm gonna pass.
Oh, gonna pass. I am gonna smash. I like Carrera. I think Carrera's kind of cool. Yeah, you make a good point about the fight feeling a little bit more unique with the chins as well, but also shoots like a wind attack and it pushes you back against the wall. That's cool. Okay, there's the 4 Godwars bosses, but next we have the next bundle of bosses. That's what they do. They kind of release a lot of these bosses in bundles, but this is a big bundle that we're going to separate into 2. So this is the wilderness combo, if you're at like McDonald's or something. So there were 6 bosses that were released. There's 3 main bosses and then 3 demi bosses. So let's talk about the main bosses first. This came out in March 13th, 2014. And by the way, these bosses are completely different today than how they were on release. So we have Callisto, which is a bear, Vedion, which is a skeleton, and Venenatus, which is a spider. These are the wilderness bosses. Let's start with a bit of their origin story. They were originally kind of like these roaming bosses that you would just stumble. They were just not stumble across. They had their areas that they existed in, but they were just kind of in the wilderness, not having a lair or anything like that. They would be out in the open world. And Yeah, it was obviously meant to be like this. It came with the first set of all these updates called their Wilderness Rejuvenation Project, where they wanted to like breathe life into the wilderness, because the wilderness used to be like super dead. There was like no reason for anyone to go in the wilderness except for maybe clue scrolls. And over the years, they've added a lot to it. So they had like a lot of great drops. They had some uniques on their table, but the idea was you're killing it, and multi, and then PKers are going to show up and they're probably going to kill you. So that's kind of where they balanced it. But they had to change it because everyone found out ways to cheese the bosses, because they weren't in a lair. You could lure them somewhere, get them stuck, and then you could basically, they would get stuck and then they couldn't attack you. They would just glitch out and then you could just AFK kill it. So that's how you killed everyone just cheesed the bosses. That was how you killed it. And then I think Jagus was like, this is probably not good for the game. Let's turn them into real bosses. And then they did this giant update where they reworked it all, even made them look different, gave them new rewards, completely new bosses, I'd say overall. And I think they're in a really cool spot. Did you have much experience fighting these bosses on like when they were like as their original form?
I did exactly one of each of them for my Elite Diary on my main before they were reworked. And it was, yeah, there's just something. It just makes me sad. Like when I go to learn a new boss and it's basically the instructions are like, all right, this is how you kill it in a way that wasn't intended. But like, it's just, there's something that's lost there when it's, but I don't know. I guess sometimes it's cool. Like there's a lot of TOB where it's like, we're killing it in a way that wasn't intended. But when it's like the way that they made this was so fundamentally broken that we had the wilderness bosses were one where it feels like you have to cheese it because it's impossible to do as intended.
They hit so hard.
And it is, I think, something I've been noticing a lot as we've been going through these is there is a big lack of overworld, open area bosses in this game. Everything has its layer, its instance, and there's, like you kind of mentioned with that, there's very good reasons for that. There's all kinds of things can happen when you're just out in the open world. You can do stuff to the boss. Other people can come along and mess it up for you, or you get boosting and all these different kind of things. And so it's kind of a necessity that things have to be in a layer. But it is cool that just like the idea of like, oh, I'm running around and oh, there's this boss just out there. And it added, yeah, like you were saying with clue scrolls, it's like, all right, I have to go this route because I do not want to get anywhere near, Venenatis.
Yeah, they can be a little dicey. And I don't know if they were all like this, but I know Callisto, you could lure him pretty far. So like, yeah, you would see things where like, oh, if they didn't have the wilderness ditch there, you could lure Callisto all the way to the Grand Exchange. Like it was an older boss. So it was, 2014 was a year where the team was very small. So lots of exploits were available. So I did these bosses a ton, both cheesing it and doing it the proper way. So, okay. So anyways, they ended up reworking these bosses eventually, and now they're all in their own layer. There's a multi version of the boss. There is a singles version of the boss. So there's a few things that I love about how the bosses are right now. They have great locations. Like they've set it up so like, if I'm kind of a mid-level, I'm very vulnerable to PKers. I'm not high enough to defend myself. I'm not low enough to not get attacked by them. So I'm glad I can choose the solo version of the boss if I want to. Or if I can go with a team. I love that each boss, we're going to get into it, each boss is kind of set up differently. They have like different group size formats, which I think is great. And the loot across the table, I think is amazing. And it's also set up in a way, it's set up beautifully. I really like these bosses. Set up beautifully. The drops work in a way that it makes PVMers, you kind of are tempted to keep risking it. You're tempted to stay longer than you should because of all the resources that drop. And I've definitely got caught out there way longer than I knew I should have left, but I didn't. I got PK'd. So I think that's really cool. The one thing I don't like about the Wildy boss as a whole is it's just kind of weird that they have the singles version and the group version. They're basically the same, just the models are a little bit smaller and they have a different name, but it just gets confusing because I kind of just call them by the daddy monster name. So, I'm at Callisto right now, but I'm actually at, I don't even know what the boss, the singles version is. Yeah, Artio. Okay, there you go. Or Vedion has Calvarion. I'm always just like, I'm at Vedion. I don't know. I don't like. It's a bit weird. I think it'd be a bit confusing because they sound like completely separate bosses, but like, no, they're the same, just a little bit different. And that's. Do you have any thoughts on like the Wildy bosses as a whole? Like any general thoughts about that would apply to all three of them? Maybe.
Yeah, like with the rework, I think it's incredible. I think this is one of the best updates they've ever done. I love the dichotomy of the singles and the multi. I only go to the singles because I like doing content solo, and you have a lot better chance of survival, but it's a lot harder to get gear. So if you're a slow and steady kind of person like I am, then you prefer the singles. But if you're risk it for the biscuit type of person, then you're going to go to the multi. Or if you're the type of person who only wants to do content with other people. There's a lot of people like that in this game. And so I think that's so cool that there's that, that push and pull of the high risk, high reward, low risk, low reward thing, but you can still get all of the drops you need from the singles bosses. I think that's such a good thing. And then the fights themselves are all, relatively unique. We'll get into them individually, but I think I do like that the mechanics are the same. It can serve as kind of a training ground. It does make them feel a little samey. So maybe it would be nice if maybe the multi had one extra mechanic or something just to give it a little spice. But I have nothing but good things to say about the update overall. I have things to nitpick about them, but I would love to see, and once again, group drop mechanics. So irons can go as well.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think I even though I'm going to have critiques for every boss, I would almost call this update perfect.
Yeah, I loved it. I was when it came out, I was like blown away by how well designed, especially what it used to be. Like it's night and day. It's great. And from the PKer side, like I've done from a PKer standpoint too. We've done group trips, and it's so much fun. And there's so many, depending on how big your team is, like there's just so many different techniques and methods, and yeah, I love it. It's fun from both sides of it. And I love the added factor of PVMing the wilderness, mostly on a main. I don't do this on my iron, and I sorely miss doing this on my main. You just bring the Void Waker, and like any PKers that jump you just turn around and you can just whip out. Sometimes you just take them out. Like it's you as a PVMer, you just need a little bit of confidence and a little bit of practice, and you really have the advantage sometimes against the PvPers, and the advantage the act of surprise is all you need sometimes. I guess let's look at Callisto first. So the bear. So yeah, Callisto's based off the Greek mythology. I don't know. I can't remember, but I remember reading it way back. I think it's like sometimes Greek mythology is like super pervy, but I think it's something where like Zeus's wife, or there's some like one of the gods' wives ends up sleeping with this person who turns into a bear because I guess she's super into that. And then like Zeus or someone finds out, shoots Callisto into the stars, and then has his son forever hunting Callisto as like the constellation, whatever. I'm probably getting that wrong completely, but that's how I remember it as. There's kind of a cool lore there. I love that Callisto is kind of like the chill boss if you're doing it in a group, because up to 10 people, and like one or two people have to do something, and then everyone else is just kind of AFKing, mowing the boss down. I love that. That's super chill. Oh, and this applies to all of the bosses I should have mentioned, but when you're going into the cave to fight like their lair, you fall from the ceiling and you kind of go splat on the ground and then get up. I love that. That looks cool. So that's the positives for Callisto. There isn't a lot there, but I do really love the boss. My negatives, the singles version is kind of meh. I forget why I put that there. I wrote this a little bit ago. And then I think the boss is like, there's like bear traps that spawn on the floor that will like turn off your run energy and stuff like that, or drains it. I can't remember exactly, but it does. You just don't want to step in them. But he also has an attack where he shoots like an icicle, not an icicle. Maybe it used to be an icicle. He shoots like an icicle thing, like, and he's shooting stuff at you. And my only thing is like, what the fuck is a bear doing shooting spell, like these weird magic things at you? Like, it makes no sense. Like really, he should just be trying to claw you. But like, sometimes bosses are like that. You're like, why the hell is this boss like why is this like thing setting me on fire? Like, there's no reason this thing should be able to set me on fire unless it's just like, no, it's a magical bear. And you're like, oh, fuck, I hate that stuff. No, I don't hate that. I'm being a little dramatic, but yeah, that's my notes. What do you think, Trey? What's your thought of Callisto or the Artio version?
Well, this one's the freshest in my memory because I was actually killing Artio last night for our bingo.
Nice.
And I got PK'd there once. How do you find
it for solo killing? Like as in a group, it's chill. How is it for solo for you?
It's completely different, and I won't deny I went to Artio because if I'm getting a Void Waker, that one is the most difficult. It's my least favorite of the fights, and it's the most difficult because there's a lot more resources involved because the meta is basically to freeze it and then range it. So the first thing I do when I get my Bofa, I take it out to the wilderness. Probably not advisable, but I checked every possible anti-skull everything on my account that I possibly could. So I should be good, but it's still always a little scary still. But yeah, I was killing it last night. It's not bad. It's my least favorite of the fights, but it's actually kind of cool. They made an update recently. Well, they made an update probably, sometime between the boss was released and now. It was probably a year into it or something, but they completely changed the way that the Callisto's magic defense, if I remember correctly, to where you could get a guaranteed freeze, which is really nice.
Oh, right.
Because it was really annoying before to just run around in circles while you're getting splashed or while you're splashing. So yeah, basically, you make sure before you go out there that you have you don't have negative magic attack bonus and you'll get 100% freeze. So it's nice. You freeze it, you shoot it. Every 30% of damage, it breaks out of your freeze and summons more bear traps. So I found myself, it's kind of fun to strategize a little bit. Like, it's at 70% health. It got out of my freeze. I don't want to freeze it again because then it's just going to break out of it with its like roar. So then you kind of kite it a little bit. And yeah, wrong boss.
I'm thinking of Cerberus, aren't I?
Yeah. But yeah, and apart, it's all of these bosses drops are very similar. They have the one wilderness ring, they have the one rev weapon upgrade, and they have the one Void Waker piece. And so, essentially you just kind of have to go for all of them, for all of those things. But I think that it's top, do I want to say top 10 or top 5? I'll play it safe and I'll say top 5 pets in the game. Just a little bear cub following around. I love that pet, and I really hope I get it before the Void Waker piece because I don't see myself staying there after the Void Waker piece for just the pet. But yeah, I actually, if we had recorded this 24 hours ago, I would have been more negative. But doing it, I did like 50 or so kills last night, and it was a good time. It's just
that's good.
It's hard on an iron because you have to freeze it, and on a main you can buy those ice sacks for the wilderness to freeze it. But since I'm on an iron, those would be way too much work to go get. So I just brought runes, and I didn't want to take my rune pouch in the wilderness. So then I have 3 inventory spots of just runes. So, slightly annoying, but I found myself enjoying it. And yeah, Callisto is probably the most commonly masked boss. And yeah, Callisto masses are a good time.
Yeah, they're super chill. I definitely recommend because you can be a low level. You just get a big enough group, you're fine. You don't have to worry. It's pretty good stuff. We were talking about barrows last episode. I think I might have mentioned Verax, but when Callisto was first out and before people realized you could get them stuck and cheese the fight, people would use like Verax. So I remember going in like groups and you would just all kill Verax together, or you wearing Verax, you kill Callisto together. But also I would solo it. And I remember like it just hit hard. There was not much to it. It would just hit hard sometimes. So like sometimes I would get like 4 kill trips, or sometimes I'd have to go bank and come back to finish off the first kill. So super all over the place. I don't know if I have much more to add. What do you think? Is this a smash or a pass?
I legitimately think it went from a pass to a smash in the past 24 hours. So I'll say smash.
Ooh. Look at that. A smash as well. I think it's great. I think it's a great boss overall. Very cool stuff. Next, we have Vedion, which is the skeleton. He's like a skeleton king or whatever. You go into this tomb. Callisto, you're in a bear cave, of course. Vedion, you're in this new, like, what would you call it? Like a burial chamber thingy? I don't know. There's like a coffin, though, and he pops up.
We can be fancy and call it a mausoleum.
Ooh, mausoleum. I like that. That's pretty cool. It's an interesting boss. It's a great solo boss because you can avoid all damage, which also means there's a lot of bots doing it at times. But it also means that if you can kill Calvaria on the singles version and you can avoid all the damage, you could probably go to multi and solo the boss. No problem. You just got to worry about PKs a little bit. But yeah, very easy to avoid all damage because kind of these lightning shocks pop up on the ground and you just gotta watch out.
Yeah, something that's kind of interesting about that is you can actually, if there's not the spawns are not out, you can actually log out in the middle of the fight if a PKer came, if you're not taking any hits.
Right. Yeah, and that's a problem if on the PKing side is that Vedion sucks to kill or to go PKing at because a lot of bots are there and they log out as soon as someone pops out. Like they're so fast with it. Whereas Callisto, if you see people are fighting, there's probably a big group killing it. You're kind of feasting as a PKer. One thing I hate about Vedion, I hate such a strong word, but I dislike it. And this happened. I haven't talked about Destiny in a little bit. So this happened so many bosses on Destiny. It's a huge gripe of mine, but there's just like it artificially hits a point in the fight where it's like, oh, he's immune to all damage until you do some stuff. And there's like no rhyme. Like he just like puts a shield up and then goes invulnerable. I always kind of don't like that sort of stuff because it's like that just seems lame from like a theatrical, from like a storytelling point. It's like, what does that even mean? It would make more sense if he was like he crumbles into a pile of bones and then you got to fight some spirits and then it comes back up. Like there's ways to make it work, but it just kind of feels like he artificially becomes like, nope, you're halfway through the fight now, you can't hit me. He does that twice. You got to fight his little dog. So that irks me. Destiny, so many bosses do that. You're like, oh, he's half health. He's about to go invulnerable. Now we have to go kill these demi bosses, and then the shields will drop. Just kind of lame. That's all I have for Vedion, though. what do you think?
No, I really like Vedion. I think there's a lot of good things going for it. But, it's interesting you're talking about the fight mechanics and a big part of the reason why I wanted to do this in chronological order is to see kind of Jagex's mindset and their progression through how they've treated PVM. And we're kind of doing a little leapfrog with this because we're going off the date of the old boss, but we're talking about the new boss. But this is far and away the one of the worst offenders for like a railroady boss. Because like you're saying, yeah, he goes immune and you can't damage him. And then you kill the Hellhounds. And once you kill the Hellhounds, you have to wait until his next line of dialogue before he's immune or vulnerable again. So not only is it just you have to go kill his minions, but you have to wait until the game processes that you've killed the minions and he's ready for you to attack him again. And it's just straight up downtime, it's really frustrating. I think a better way of approaching that would just be if the minions were like did a lot of damage to you. Maybe it's like one of those bosses where he's melee and he summons a mage and range one, but he doesn't go invulnerable. So, hypothetically you could tank them, but they're doing a lot of damage to you, that kind of a thing. So, but yeah, it's very frustrating. Kind of the trademark of that style of boss is it's really fun when you go in there because it has these kind of fresh new mechanics, but it gets boring really fast because you have to do the same thing every time. And you turn off the part of your brain that's even looking for more efficient ways to do things because when you do, you get shut down. You know what I mean? There's no concept of like a phase skip or anything or a Hellhound skip or something because you have to do it. Whereas maybe it's like, oh, if you got this particular item, you'd be able to do a Hellhound skip or something. But other than that, I do love the fight. One thing I like about it as opposed to the other two is it's the only one where you never feel like you have to do it on a Slayer task because you use the salve amulet or the salve necklace. And yeah, so because of that, because the salve amulet doesn't stack with the Slayer helm and it has like essentially the same bonuses, you never feel like you need to be on a Slayer task, it's nice. You can go there so early on an account too. And it gives such good drops for an early account. So yeah, I think it's easier of a boss fight than even like, I would almost say it's easier than Scurious if you can just kind of get over the fear of the wilderness. But yeah, I've got a lot, I like it a lot, but it is It is objectively the easiest, and it has because it's the easiest, the Void Waker piece is the cheapest item, which is actually kind of a good thing as far as an Iron Man goes, because you have to get all three anyways. But because it's the cheapest item, PKers bots avoid it, which means PKers avoid it. So it's generally the quietest of all three of them.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. And like I think a lot of people might have some bad experiences, but like one thing I love about the Wilderness bosses is that they're like, to me, they feel so great for get in, get out. Like if I got 15 minutes, I'm like, what do I want to do? I'm like, I can just go to Ferox Enclave. I just quickly throw on some cheap gear. You don't even have to be fully best in slot because you don't want to lose it. So just bring a strength ammy, bring your weapon, quickly run out, do a boss or two. It just feels so much easier to do than other bosses like that, just jump in and out. And you know what? I'm going to back up real quick because I really love what you said, because I was complaining about the invulnerability part, and you mentioned like they railroad you, which is, they talk about that on Dungeons and Dragons. Railroading is like, you have sandbox where you can do whatever. It's up to you. You come up with how you do this. Railroad is like, no, they know how they want you to do this, and here it is. So I like that you said that, because that's like, maybe that's what I don't like about it. It's very railroady. Whereas if you did it creatively, I think you could sell me on it more. It won't. You masquerade that it's railroading when there's a little bit more to it, instead of him just being like, "Nope, I'm invulnerable now." And you're like, "Oh, okay, well, whatever."
Yeah.
Why is he just doing it now? Why isn't he doing it so much more often? If you can just friggin' go invulnerable, whatever.
Yeah, and I think that the concept of railroading will be a very prominent theme, part 7 of this series when we get to the newer bosses, because it's been something they've been doing a lot. And it's a problem every time they do it. There's a big portion of the player base of this game that likes to figure out. I mean, that's the entirety. Once again, I think the polar opposite of that really is Theater of Blood, because it's everything in that you're kind of killing not as intended, and it brought all these cool metas, because their design process for that was more of just like, let's do something cool. And this is also, side tangent, my advice for any DMs out there for D&D. Don't think about how your party's going to kill the boss. Just think about what the boss is going to do and how that can be fun, and let them figure out how they want to kill it, because it'll probably be cooler than what you think of, and it'll be cool to them because it's their idea.
Yeah. I've played some D&D things where it was a little railroaded, and it can be a little demotivating, because you might come up with I have these grand ideas that I'm starting, and then as the campaign goes on, I'm realizing that it'll never happen. The DM knows what's going to happen each session, so let's just roll with it. It's
one of these days we really need to have a D&D episode, because you have got to be a nightmare player, because I can just see you always wanting to do the most outside the box thing, and like, oh man, I bet you've gotten told no by DMs a lot.
Not so much no, but definitely when I'm like, I want something to work, and everyone's laughing like, "Oh, Dills, you're being so silly." Like, I'm in Waterdeep, and I'm like, I end up joining a plumbers guild, and then I want to learn how to be a plumber and all this sort of stuff. And then we invade a castle, and then I'm like, I want to use my knowledge of plumbing. Like, how can I use that as an advantage? And then they're all, "Oh, you're being so silly." I'm like, no, I'm being serious. Like,
I mean,
I've been working as like a plumber for like 6 months while we were at Waterdeep or whatever it was. Anyways, it's not so bad. It's just, I don't know.
We'll get to a D&D episode eventually.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. So what do you think of Vedion and Calvarion as the smash or pass?
Well, it's a crush focused boss, so I will definitely smash it.
Ooh, me too. I will smash it as well. Vedion's very, very cool. And then we bring us to the last of the 3, which is Venenatus, the spider boss. This one is, so Vedion's like really, it's kind of like smaller groups, but Venenatus is very much more smaller groups, because as more people come in, she spawns like little spiderlings, and it can just be, unless you got someone with chins and stuff, it just could be a bit of a pain in the ass if you have too many people there. So it's definitely like, I've gotten groups together, let's go Wildy bossing, and then we get like too many, and it's like, we're going to Callisto. We are not doing Venenatus anymore because we have too many people. So there's that. It's a scary boss because it throws down webs that drains your prayer and your run energy. So it's scary for everyone, even as a PvPer. If you're not, I'm not a good PvPer. So I've been caught up where I'm like, oh shit, I'm probably going to die because I'm stuck on these webs. It's a little sketchy. And I guess quickly, like when I was doing these bosses, Venenatus was the boss I did the most. I was it was the first boss that I'm no-lifing this until I get the pet for the most part, but you could cheese it in a way that it was so AFK. I got like 1,500 kills. I made over 200 mil. It was so chill. I used to do it while I was editing the podcast. I would do it while I was like I just did it all the time because it was so AFK. And the only factor you're AFK, and the only thing that could bite you in the ass if PKers showed up. PKers like never showed up for some reason. And when they did, you just teleport real quick. So I only probably died like a handful of times over all the thousands of kills I did on my main. But yeah, spider boss. It's pretty cool. That's like all my notes, I guess. What do you think, Trey? What do you have for Venenatis? And Spindle is the little guy's name.
Yeah, it's a good one. I got Spoon the pet there at 400 KC on my main. Yeah, it's I like the spider pet. I haven't actually gone back to the boss since the Arania boots have come out. I'll be interested to see. I've heard they don't make much of a difference. It's not like this where it's like changes the whole fight, but it gives you a little bit of immunity from the webs. But yeah, no, I think I like the fight a lot. It is railroady, but like you said, it's kind of more chill than the other two. You can just kind of, if you stand in the right place, you can pretty much just stand there and hit it for most of the fight. Throw your darts on to kill the spiderlings, or yeah, like Chin's, like you're saying. And it's funny that you're talking about them being chill. I relate to that a lot because most of when I was doing them on my main, I would pretty much the only time I would kill them is before work in the morning because I was hoping that and there was a lot fewer PKers on. And so, yeah, I just have that same kind of morning cup of coffee, leaning back, relaxed feeling when I think about those bosses, even though I wasn't relaxed because I was so scared of PKers then. But yeah, Venenatis specifically, or Spindle specifically, it has, I can't really say why the Void Waker piece is the most valuable of all of them. I don't know if it's because more PKers, I don't know, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like more PKers go there, so less people get the drop and the price goes up. And I don't know. I don't know how that really happens.
I think probably like, I think what it is with Venenatis, it has like all the bosses have some like Callisto has the bear traps, and it has this move that it shoots you back a little bit if it hits you. So those are the things that kind of mess up your movement. And then Venenatis has one that can slow your attacks. And it has these lightning bolts that kind of pop up. So you can kind of do damage. But I think with Venenatis is the one... Oh, sorry, Vedion. I don't know if I meant Vedion was what I was just talking about. And then Venenatis has the webs, which can like... It drains your prayer and your run energy. And it makes it like... I guess as a PVMer, like if you mess up and you panic and you run into the webs, you might smite yourself. You're probably going to for sure die. Whereas like the other ones, you can run away at least. You can stop for a second, but I think it's just the most scary. It's the highest risk, highest reward. But if you're really good at it, you can use those webs to your advantage and get those PvPers. But probably easier said than done. Yeah.
On a side note,
it's tough.
You kind of show one other thing about these bosses that's annoying, which is one of the number one rules of writing is if you have a group of characters, you don't want any of them to have a name that starts with the same letter. And this boss is very annoying for Venenatis and Vedion. It's very easy to mix those two up.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you think of the Venenatis? Are you a smash or pass?
One other minor thing, but before I kind of just thought of, I've heard a lot of negative things about this boss from Ironman because apparently I haven't done it on my iron yet, but I've heard that if you don't have the Vigorous Chain Mace, it's actually a big pain to kill. I think it has really high defense. But that note aside, I was just thinking of that because once again, it's a crush boss, so I'm going to say smash. Actually, this might be the first one that we've talked about that I will actually smash with a Dragon Warhammer.
Cool. That's perfect. Yeah, I'm a smasher as well. Not Dragon Warhammer, but I got a zombie axe. I can use that. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Yeah, big win for the wilderness bosses, but I think they, as you mentioned, it was a good point. Like we are kind of skipping ahead because these are not the bosses that we originally had, and they've really reworked it so much that like the loot, everything is really different about these bosses. The way they look, everything. So they almost are. They are like fresh bosses. So they're definitely going to stand out as a little bit less dated than some of these. speaking of less dated or dated in general, we'll talk about the 3 demi bosses that came with the Wilderness. So same date, March 13th, 2014. We have these 3 demi bosses. You can't really group them up because they're all kind of different. The only thing that is the same about them is they drop pieces to a shield, the Malediction Ward and the Obdium Ward, which is like a range and a mage shield, and they look like the Tazar shield. They're just blue and green instead of red. They tried changing it, but it failed, so then they just made it a clue recoloring.
Yeah,
which I wasn't a huge fan of. I wish they just changed them in general, but anyways, it's fine.
So
yeah, we have the 3 of them.
Isn't it from LMS that you get to redesign them?
Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm getting it. Yeah, you might be right there. I think maybe I'm getting confused. Cosmetics that come from so many different spots, but yeah, so they are all kind of different. So it's not the same. I don't know if we can group them up as easily. So the first one I have here is the Chaos Fanatic. Overall, I like the shield idea that they do. The Chaos Fanatic, I have a lot of negatives, but I actually don't mind the fight. I think the boss is like kind of cringy. Like they just make him so random. Like he's like, oh, he's all chaos, and he says stuff like, oh, you know, all your base belonged. So, like weird memey stuff, and it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's kind of dumb. I kind of find it kind of not cringe. Yeah, I just kind of find it kind of dumb. Like there's no rhyme or reason to it. And it's a person. He's a human out there. There's like, I don't think there's like any lore behind him. No one knows why he's out there for the most part. He's just like crazy. They've got little chaos elementals around him, which are, it's just a completely random boss. It feels like they didn't even try. They just like, let's make this boss as random. Like it doesn't have to have like a cohesive theme for the most part. Maybe besides it being whatever, but yeah, I guess I think it could have been something cool instead of just some random dude sitting out there who's like gone crazy. I don't know. Maybe it's fine. What do you think of the Chaos Fanatic?
I think same as the Chaos Elemental. I'm on the complete other side as far as the lore of it. I think it's funny that there's a boss that is a fart cloud of chaos that makes no sense. And I also think it's hilarious that there's he has a insane devoted follower. One man's cringe is another man's hilarious. So I think a lot of the stuff he's saying is funny. And
yeah, you know what? I might have been a little in a bad mood for some of these. Oh my god, some of my notes for the next Gwens are so like negative. I was in such a pissy mood, I think.
I love bosses that talk at you. Something I didn't mention about Vedion, I love how he's talking shit the whole time, even though you keep just killing him so easily. But yeah,
he calls you a rat.
Yeah, he tells you to sit.
You're like, holy shit.
Yeah, I know. I love those. And I think it's Chaos Fanatic that is always just going, like I just hear the Scooby-Doo sound every time. That said, the fight is stupid. The drops are terrible. There's almost no reason to kill this boss. And honestly, all 3 of these, the offhand, the shields you get from them, like the time commitment for them. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know this for sure, but that new Devil's Horn or whatever from Varlamore, I'm wondering if that's going to completely put these in the grave, because that will probably be way easier to get, and it will be a range and mage offhand. So that'll probably be the final nail in the coffin, because yeah, these are, you don't see these around. Nobody really cares for them. I barely ever see people using them, and the bosses themselves are pretty lame. The only one that, well, I guess we'll get to that one next, that has any reason to kill. But I think it's kind of cool that the Chaos Fanatic has a 1 in 1,000 chance of dropping the Chaos Elemental pet. If for some reason you didn't want to kill Chaos Elemental, you have a way. You've probably noticed, I like things in this game where there's a hard way of doing something, high risk, high reward, and then there's the low risk, low reward option as well. Mm-hmm. I just think that's cool.
Yeah, no, that's great. I agree. All right, so Chaos Fanatic, what do you think? Any smash or pass?
I think I'm gonna make like all of the people running to the Chaos Temple or the Chaos Altar and pass. Oh, speaking of that, sorry, one other small thing with it. It is the most annoying boss on an Iron Man because so many people use the Chaos Fanatic to kill them when they're doing Wildy Altar, so it's almost always tagged, and then you don't get any loot from it on an Iron. But small gripe.
Yeah, that's me. No, I get it. I'm always doing that too. Okay, yeah, I'm passing on the fake Chaos Fanatic as well. I think it's okay. I would only give it a smash because because it's a demi boss. And then next we have the crazy archaeologist. And really, I find these bosses to be so similar. They just kind of look the same. They're humanoids randomly out there. He's like at some ruins, but what's he doing? I don't really know. And then I don't like the text he says. He's like, he sounds like an anime character. He's like, reign of knowledge. I'm going to do these ruins are mine. Like I don't know. I just think he's too anime-like to me. I don't know. I'm not super into it, but he does have a fedora, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So I have it both as a pro and a con. I just don't know. And one of my notes is that he's a cringe idiot. I don't know if that was fair. I want to take that back because I think I was just in a bad mood when I wrote that. Well, what do you think of the crazy archaeologist?
I think he's the crazy archaeologist. You know, he's just a guy that went out in the wilderness and tried to start studying these things and went crazy. I don't know. The lore of all of both of these bosses just kind of works for me for whatever reason. I think it's funny, but the only reason to kill him is for a rune crossbow and an Iron Man.
Yeah, the power amulet too. That's something I got early on that I loved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, power amulet. So yeah, there is a reason to go there as an early level, that's cool. I was excited to finally be like, this is my first boss I get to kill.
Yeah,
it's pretty chill. So there's that.
But other than that, like I mean, just when we were just talking about this when we were talking about Chaos Fanatic, I almost started talking about the rune crossbow because, like you're saying, these bosses do run together a lot. They're so similar, and it's one of our bingo tiles to get a full Wildy shield. And people were saying, "All right, I'm going to this one," and then they'd be like, "Wait, which one is that?" And then we're not talking about it right now, but then there's the deranged archaeologist, which is a whole different thing. And so then it's confusing.
Yeah, we'll be getting to that. That's going to be a later episode for sure. So what do you think of the crazy archaeologist? Are you smashing or passing?
I am definitely passing.
Passing. Yeah, me too, I think. The only positive is that it's a demi-boss, and I was excited to finally be able to kill it as a lower level. But yeah, kind of over it. The last of the 3 demi-bosses, and honestly the last boss we'll cover for today, because it's been going on a little bit longer, we're Chatty Cathy's over here, is the Scorpion boss. Has its own layer up north in the Wildy. It's kind of weird that you have the 2 humanoids, then a scorpion, but they have the shield connection, but whatever. I think scorpions are cool. It's a really neat pet. The layer is kind of cool. It's lots of little scorpions in it. That's pretty cool. That's all positives. My negatives are, it doesn't really fit with the 2, kind of crazy humans. And this is another boss where like the mechanics don't make sense. Because like these 2 little scorpions spawn at some point and just heal the boss. What the fuck does that mean? Like, what do you mean these baby scorpions are healing the boss? Are they, they're magical scorpions. And you're like, oh my, I don't know. I find that cheesy. I just don't like when you can slap a label like, well, it's healing because it's magical. I don't know. I like the flavor of the boss is it's just random. They're like, we come up with some mechanics. I like when there's like, it makes sense to me. Like I could actually, I could understand this thing really existing, but nope, not this one. Yeah, sorry, sped through that one. But what do you think of the Scorpia boss?
I dislike pretty much everything about this boss. It's a gray boss in a gray arena. It's annoying to kill, and it's also the biggest problem with it is it's in deep wilderness in multi.
Yeah,
so you never like if you see a PKer, you see a team, and they're gonna kill you.
It feels like it should be with Callisto, Vedion, and Venenatus, but it's not because it also has this thing where all these little scorpions are shooting you, which what the hell does that even mean? What do you mean these little scorpions are shooting me with some ranged attack? Are they shooting like stingers at me? But you have to pray range, which means when the PKers show up, you are going to get frozen or teleblocked, and it's not good.
Yeah, and that's also, I mean, because you're freezing, maybe you could log out, but it's kind of that DK's thing where you can never log out because you're always taking these little attacks, which is so annoying.
Yeah.
It's an annoying boss to kill. The loot isn't great. It is considered like one of the fastest pets in game, but I don't really care for the pet that much, even though it's a big one. So I have almost nothing good to say about this boss.
Okay, so are you going to smash or pass this one?
Actually, I'm going to smash. No, I'm kidding. Full pass on this one.
I am going to smash this boss because I like Scorpia. I like a scorpion boss. And I actually, funny enough, the loot kind of sucked, although they did buff it in the past little bit. But I really liked, I was farming the part at one point, and I actually had a lot of fun doing that for whatever. I don't know why. I just did. So that's a smash for me. And there we go. We got through the Godwars and the first, the Wilderness Rejuvenation bosses. But I think we're going to pause it there. Next episode, we'll start with the first of the Slayer bosses that we get introduced into the game. as well as I really feel like next episode we start getting into like the core bosses. Like it's kind of hard talking about the Wildy bosses because they've been updated, but you start really seeing the developers getting creative with some of these fights. So super exciting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a break and we will be right back. All right, we're taking a quick little break and heading on over to the Grand Exchange. I feel like it's been a hot minute since we came to the Grand Exchange, but this is the segment where we basically talk about how you can support the show. And to do that, it's through Patreon. Go to patreon.com/TheWildernessPodcast. I'll be honest, haven't posted anything in there in a little bit. But we got some stuff. Maybe we'll throw it up there. There's a few things I've been doing in the background, some side projects that, yeah, maybe we'll tease it by posting it on there. I'm not too sure, but anyways, yeah, patreon.com/TheWildernessPodcast. I just found out you can join as a free member. So if you want to come check it out, but you don't really want to spend any money, I get it. You can, go to patreon.com/TheWildernessPodcast. Oh boy. Great stuff there. And of course, you can be our top tier supporter to get a shout out. So thank you to Colin Fitzsimmons, to Sasquatch, Flarch, and Spleemo. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. We really do appreciate it. Helps keep the lights on and all that fun stuff. So we really appreciate it. But you can also support the show by like boosting our server on Discord, which is discord.gg/wilderness. Don't do the wrong one. It's wilderness now. Our old one got sniped, so we're gonna keep reminding you that it's now wilderness. Discord.gg/wilderness. And you can boost the server, which allows some fun goodies like that cool URL. So big shout out to our boosters: Gator Dick, Dakota, Coda, Myzix, Omens Bad, and Tens Shemp Malone. Thank you all so very, very much. Okay, let's get it. All right, Trey. So let's do some of our housekeeping, guys. If you want to call and tell us what you think about the bosses or thoughts, or if I missed a detail that you want, you can call in at Speak. We have a SpeakPipe link in the show description, or you can leave us a message on Discord or through email, TheWildernessPodcast@gmail.com. Our Discord is discord.gg/wilderness. Make sure it's the new URL you're going into, not the Rust server, which is the old URL because they stole it from us. They won't give it back. I tried to get it back, but they won't give it back. And I think I'm probably missing some stuff. Oh, we have a Clan Wild. Come join. We have such fun events. Bingo is wrapping up today, so you can't do that. But you come and join for the next bingo. Trey, you were already we were thinking a little bit about what next bingo might be, although, a little bit early for that, but we were just having fun brainstorming what the next bingo could be, of course. But we have a lot of fun events, so feel free to join and you're welcome to participate with any event.
Yep.
Trey, anything on your end before we get on out of here?
No, just spare me if you see me in the wilderness. I'm probably going to be killing those bosses a lot more. If you see my name, just, say hi, but don't attack me. That'd be very helpful.
Yeah, that's it. Get a screenshot together.
There you go.
That's what they're there for. Cool. Okay, great. And I guess what song should we play? Should we play maybe one of the Wilderness songs?
Yeah.
Or actually, let me pitch one. We'll do Dark, because Dark has always been one of my favorite RuneScape songs.
Cool.
So it's one of the tracks that's in the Wilderness, and they have it all over the place now. So we've been going a little bit longer. So let's just end it there. Dark music track, great song, and we will see you guys next episode for part 3.
Bye.